On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, Elon Musk talks Tesla as he accepts an award in Germany. Plus, the Model Y gets closer to reality in China, but the 7-seat Model Y is MIA in America. More evidence that 5G connections might show up in new Teslas soon, and much more. What's happening, friends? Ryan McCaffrey here with you for episode 279 of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast for December 6th, 2020. And let me start by getting the big story, the big follow-up from last week out of the way first, and I'll let Rich from Seattle tell us about it.
Hi, Ryan. Rich from Seattle here. How you doing? I'm sure your 17.8 billion followers have already noted this, but it's applique, not applique. It's, at least according to my high school French teacher, which sounds way better than applique. Anyway, glad the Model X applique is getting fixed. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yes, Rich, thank you so much, and thank you to everybody who let me know, very politely I might add, how very wrong I was in pronouncing applique on last week's show. And the funny part, of course, in hindsight, is that I got it wrong over and over again while doing that story. It just goes to show you that my journalism degree does not give me all of the same powers as an English degree. But now I know. See, I learned something new, which is always good. Now, speaking of Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls, I need more of them. There are the well is dry because, in part, all the extra ones that I haven't been able to get to on the regular shows here have just gone into the December Patreon bonus episode. So that one is for the ludicrous tier of Patreon supporters. And those callers are the following people. If you hear your name and you're not backing me on Patreon at the ludicrous tier, just drop me an email, teslapodcast@gmail.com, and I will be happy to provide you a free download token for that bonus episode so that you can hear my response to your call. So I heard from, on this bonus one, James from New Jersey, David from Minnesota, Rich in Seattle, Andrew from Texas, Daniel from Lawndale, Brian from Pennsylvania, Greg, who only identified himself as a brand new Model Y performance owner, RJ from Santa Clarita, Eric from Australia, and Jeff from Illinois. And the toll-free number, if you do want to dial in and help me resupply the Ride the Lightning hotline for next week, the toll-free number that you can call or Skype is 1-888-989-8752. Again, 1-888-989-TSLA, or you can just record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less, no matter how you call in. But please, you can do that by recording it on your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, and then email me that file to that same email address, teslapodcast@gmail.com. But there are actually so many news stories this week, rather, that I don't think I'm going to get to the Ride the Lightning hotline this week, which is why I'm mentioning it here at the top of the show. So give me a ring if you want to talk Tesla. I would love to hear from you again. I love having the voices of the Tesla community, of the Ride the Lightning listeners, featured on this podcast. I think it makes it extra fun. So go ahead and ring me up anytime, and we will get back to that next week. And with that, there is just so much to talk about this week. A quick personal Tesla-related note. I wanted to express some gratitude and share some big news for me. Gratitude to you in that the 2 Tesla Roadsters that I won as part of the referral program 2 years ago were finally added to my account this week. So they are there. When I log into my Tesla account, it shows my red Model 3 and the VIN there, and then I can click into that and manage it, and then it shows 2 next generation Tesla Roadsters, which is just wild to even contemplate. I mean, to that end, I'll be completely honest with you. it still doesn't feel like a thing that's real, that's actually going to happen in the near future, probably another 2 years' time. But I will say, seeing it in my account, it does feel a little bit more real. I still don't believe it. I know that sounds like I'm being trite, but I really, it just doesn't seem like a thing that's going to actually manifest into reality. But I'll note that, just in case you're also thinking this, if you're thinking, oh, well, the cars showing up in your account, Ryan, must mean that they're getting ready to build the thing. I don't believe that's the case at all. I saw that some people interpreted it that way, that the referral winners did get the cars added to their accounts, that, oh, it must be coming soon. Maybe, but I'm pretty darn certain that that's not the case. I think how this came about is one of the winners, my friend Trevor from Model 3 Owners Online, or well, I guess it's Tesla Owners Online is the name of the site now. He had tweeted Elon about them not being in our accounts for the last 2 years, and Elon responded and said, "Oh, look into it." And I think that this is probably the result of that. I do very much believe that the Roadster is still a 2022 car at the earliest. It could even slip into 2023, but my money for now is on 2022, probably later in 2022 if I had to guess. But in any case, the thing I wanted to mention is just to, again, express the utmost of gratitude, because it's you guys made it possible. I mean, sure, I do work hard on this podcast, and I've worked hard to try and build an audience by doing what is hopefully a good podcast most weeks. They can't all be winners. It's just math. I'm not always going to do a great job, but I do always try, and I am always here every week. And you guys have, some of you have been listening for a few weeks. Some of you have been listening since episode 200. Some of you have been listening for 5 years. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. I really was in the right place at the right time to win the car, and it's just it is, as I said at the time, it's the craziest thing to ever happen to me. And to that end, when the Roadster finally does arrive, I want to share the gift. And what I want to do, obviously I've had a lot of time to think about this already, and there's still going to be a lot more time. I will give test rides to anybody who comes through San Francisco. If you're in town, just drop me an email and I'll come find you and I'll take you for a ride. Because this is a gift that should be shared. It should not be hoarded like Smaug's sitting on a mountain of treasure in The Hobbit. This thing should be shared as far as I'm concerned. And really, I really want to actually take it further than that and try to turn it into a charitable initiative. Maybe, the thought I had, which I admit I haven't fully fleshed it out yet, but I want to repay the generosity that the universe and you guys have shown to me by putting this thing in my life. So the thought I had was, well, maybe I'll politely ask anybody who gets a test ride to Venmo a small sum, a small donation to either a local food bank, maybe, or a charity of your, something that you're passionate about, or the San Francisco SPCA, which I volunteer with Daisy through and I'm passionate about, something like that. I feel like there is good that can be done with this. Again, I haven't totally thought it through, but I do want to try and do good with this thing somehow. But anyway, with that, one more PSA, although this is kind of a news story in and of itself, but it's a follow-up on something I mentioned a few shows back. The Atlanta world record attempt at the longest Tesla Caravan ever is coming up. I want to thank listener Bob James, who's been keeping me up to date on this. And so that is coming up on December 12th. And Bob says that they are aiming for a mile-long caravan and 300 cars. And in the update that I got from Bob this week, ahead of the event, he told me the following. Looks like they now have at least 338 registered. The world record is 145, he notes. And I'll pause to say, well, typically with an event, people RSVP and then not everybody shows up. So 338 registered. They want to get 300. Hopefully they can get some more people to sign up to hopefully comfortably have the actual attendance be over 300. But anyway, Bob continues by noting, I believe they'll be sending a QR code to the phone to make the check-in easy and contactless here, of course, in the midst of the COVID-19 health crisis. It says, I had to register with my VIN and license plate. They're going to gather, just give some details here. There'll be policemen clearing the highway and providing an escort. And he says it looks like about a 15 or so mile drive from the park and ride staging area to the final hotel. And again, this is the key part. All proceeds will be donated to Operation Underground Railroad, an organization that fights human trafficking. It is free to participate in the parade. They are selling shirts and other items for which the proceeds will go to charity, and they're also taking donations. So again, Operation Underground Railroad, a nonprofit founded by Tim Ballard and Mark Stott, which assists governments around the world in the rescue of human trafficking and sex trafficking victims with a special focus on children. So to register for the event or just get some more information, you can go to milesthroughtime.com/Tesla-Guinness-record, and Guinness spelled Guinness. And a final note, if you can't be there, I'm hoping by putting this out there that maybe some folks in the Atlanta area or in the southeastern U.S. might be inspired to come be a part of this. But you can watch a live stream of the event at TeslaRecordLive.com. Thank you to Bob again for updating me on that, and I wish the participants in that well. I hope a lot of money gets raised, and I do hope that they set the world record. On to the proper formal news of the Tesla week, and again, there is so much of it. This might be the busiest Tesla news week ever, at least on this podcast, as far as the number of stories. I think I've got something like 8, 9, 10 stories for you, so let's get rolling. Tesla has obtained permission to start selling its Shanghai-made Model Y crossover SUV in China. This story comes via Reuters, who writes, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology published the approval on its website earlier this week. Tesla now sells its Model 3 electric cars in China and has been building new car manufacturing capacity in Shanghai to make its Model Y SUVs. It applied for the Shanghai-made Model Y SUV sales permission earlier this month. It started delivering vehicles made in its Shanghai factory last December and sold more than 13,000 vehicles in China in October. The company has started exporting China-made Model 3 cars to Europe and said last week it plans to also start making electric vehicle chargers in China in 2021. Yes, superchargers for China will be made in China. So it'll be good to see the supercharger network expand over there. Now, this means, obviously, that the Model Y is getting very close to being released in China. In fact, just in the past week, not coincidentally, a camouflaged Model Y was spotted and photographed in China. And, Elon has said that the Y is scheduled to start delivering in China early in Q1, think January. And it looks like they are probably going to hit that as all of these formal sort of red tape hurdles start to get cleared. Now, as far as I know thus far, just kind of, again, thinking about this in a bigger picture capacity, I think Giga Shanghai has met or exceeded every single goal that it's been given to date, from breaking ground to now trying to get the Model Y up and running and out the door. So to that end, I don't think there's any reason to doubt that the Gigafactory expansion that's happening there won't be completed soon. It is almost certainly going to be, and that the Model Y should officially start hitting the streets of China in customer hands in, again, probably early January. And, given how quickly they're likely to be able to ramp up production, because remember, Fremont got the Model Y spun up pretty quickly before COVID shut down the factory for 6 weeks earlier this year. China then is probably likely to meet or beat the Model Y production ramp that Fremont achieved, given that their factory, and again, specifically the Model Y expansion, where they're going to be building the Y, that's going to be, you hear Elon talk about it a lot, they make their factories better with each new factory. So this one is going to be the latest and greatest factory design from Tesla. And again, particularly compared to Fremont. I'm not saying Fremont's bad in any case, but again, we've heard Elon talk about how Shanghai is more efficient from a production standpoint and the way it's laid out and designed than Fremont is, and that Berlin and Texas will build on that. Well, here's the Model Y expansion wing in Shanghai, which should, on paper, I would think, be, again, a more sort of just quote-unquote better design for the Model Y production than what Tesla has in Fremont. So that means that if they can ramp up pretty quickly, Giga Shanghai might be able to contribute a pretty meaningful number of Model Y deliveries to Tesla's books for the typically slow Q1. So fingers crossed, it will not be very long now. Next up this week, Elon Musk flew to Germany and accepted the Axel Springer Award for 2020. Now, what is that, you ask? Well, I went to the website and looked it up, and it is described as such. The award is given to outstanding personalities who are particularly innovative and who generate and change markets, influence culture, and at the same time face up to their responsibility to society. The winner is selected by the executive board of Axel Springer SE following suggestions by employees. The prize recognizes what has been achieved and encourages going forward. The Axel Springer Award is a prestige prize without prize money. This year's Axel Springer Award honors Elon Musk. Through his inventive and innovative spirit, Elon has revolutionized several industries, from electric vehicles and battery storage to space travel. Now, I have one clip from this for you, and there is much more if you'd like to go watch it, but this is about a 4-minute clip, and it is about autonomous driving, how it's coming along, and where it's going, and where we are right now. So here is Elon at the Axel Springer Award acceptance interview.
When are you able to do it, and when is it going to be approved?
Okay, just between us.
Yeah, it's a very discreet circle here. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm not against people driving, to be clear. So I think people will drive cars basically as far into the future as I can imagine. It's just that it's going to be increasingly unusual to drive your own car. And while it's fun to drive a well-handling car on a winding road in beautiful terrain, of course that's fun. But it's not fun to drive a car in terrible gridlock traffic. Like, going through extreme traffic, that's no fun driving a car. So I think people are unlikely to, most of the time, want to commute or with their and drive themselves. People are typically spending hour and a half a day, maybe 2 hours on average driving, especially say in like California or something like that. It's very common. And some people will actually commute like 3 hours a day sometimes. It's pretty crazy. So I think if say fast forward to like 10 years from now, I think 10 years from now, almost all cars will have full autonomy capability. All new cars produced. So there's about 2 billion cars and trucks in the existing fleet, and the new vehicle production is about 5% of the fleet size, so about 100 million. So even to the point at which all cars are autonomous, it'll still take 20 years to replace all the cars, assuming that the number of cars and trucks in the fleet stays constant. But like say 10 years from now, I would say vast majority of cars electric, like maybe 70-80% or more, and almost all cars autonomous. Electric autonomy is absolutely the future, no question. It's just a question of when. But then, like I said, sometimes people think that means the global fleet gets replaced instantly. It's like, nope, you have to go 20 years beyond that point before 20 years from the point at which new cars are electric, then the fleet will be replaced. This is just an important. It's not like some people are used to like mobile phones and that kind of thing. It's like 2-year or 3-year replacement rate, but cars are a much more expensive asset, a longer life. Anyway, to actually answer your question, I'm extremely confident of achieving full autonomy and releasing it to the Tesla customer base next year. Now, there's a uncertain period of time for when regulatory approval will take. How long will it take? But I think if you are able to accumulate billions of kilometers of autonomous driving, then it's difficult to argue and look at the accident rate when the car is autonomous versus non-autonomous. And in fact, our statistics already show a massive difference when the car is on autopilot or not on autopilot. The safety is much greater even with the current autopilot software.
And we are discussing level 5 autonomy, so really full autonomy. Will Europe lag behind, or will it be approved here at the same time like in America or China?
It's hard to say exactly when it will be approved. I mean, just and our customers already know this, but the EU regulators are the most conservative, and I don't know if people want that to be the case or not. Our customers are sort of unhappy about it, but they only meet every 6 months. It's a bit of an arduous. Yeah. Maybe meet more often. I don't know. But I think at least some jurisdictions will allow full self-driving next year.
Let me say this with my sort of hat in hand and like my head tilted down out of, in a humbled way. Before the FSD beta came out, I probably wouldn't have believed Elon when he says end of next year. But after seeing not only the FSD beta videos, but also the improvements the system is making with each successive build of the beta that's going out publicly, we're up to beta 6 as of my recording tonight on late Friday night. Next year, 2021, might actually be the year where a higher level, I don't want to go so far as to necessarily say level 4, and I mean level 5 I think is technically without a steering wheel, but level 4 would be the thing attainable on paper in the current fleet of cars that exist today. But at least up to level 3, if not level 4, I mean, I believe it now. I have a lot more faith in that possibility after seeing what this FSD beta is capable of. I mean, my hope here, honestly, as Tesla continues to make progress, is that Tesla will have a contingent of lobbyists or whoever is best suited for the job already talking to the NHTSA now, or at least when the full self-driving beta release goes wide very soon, in order to start trying to lay the groundwork for that level 3 plus autonomy to get approved sooner rather than later once it's technically ready. Now, if you want to listen to the rest of that conversation that Elon Musk had there, just go on YouTube and search Axel Springer Award 2020 Elon Musk, and Axel is spelled AXEL. Next story this week, our white hat hacker friend @GreenTheOnly on Twitter, who first reported the appearance of a 5G modem for the Tesla fleet showing up in the firmware, is back with a small update on that, and it is good news. He says via his Twitter account, while detailing some other new bits that are in the public software update 2020.48.5, he says new 5G cell modem is now official for both S and X and 3 and Y cars. It seems to be this, and he links to the Qualcomm Snapdragon Automotive 5G platform, which obviously is a modem from Qualcomm. Now, he was quick to clarify in a follow-up that he doesn't know when the 5G modems will actually ship in customer cars, but Tesla seems to have, at the very least here, picked out their hardware, and there's mention of it in the code, so it could be any time. It might not be, just to couch expectations. It could be months, but the groundwork seems to be there, and it's possible it could be absolutely right around the corner. So now, someone else on Twitter, asked Green the same thing I thought of, which you're probably asking yourself as well right now, which is, will there be a retrofit option for the rest of the fleet, for all of us? And Green responded, it should be possible, but no idea if it'll be offered, which of course makes perfect sense. He's not a Tesla employee. He can't speak to, he has no idea if Tesla will plan to offer the upgrade, but it is reassuring to hear him say, based on what he has seen in the system, that it should be possible. Now, as I said when I initially shared this with you not too long ago, Tesla did offer, and still does offer, a 4G LTE upgrade for the old 3G Model S cars. That upgrade was $500 installed, and it's also included if you choose to get the $2,500 MCU2 upgrade for your MCU1 Model S, although of course that applies to some Model X's as well. So hopefully Tesla will offer an optional upgrade. Obviously, it won't be free if there is an upgrade. There's no, nobody's entitled to that. But it is hopefully going to be offered at the same $500 upgrade fee that the 3G to 4G upgrade was. And if it is, I'll tell you, I think I would probably jump at it. And the reason for me personally is because I plan to own my Model 3 for probably around another decade or so. And so that 5G would definitely get used over the course of my ownership of the car. So needless to say, as with hopefully all things, I will do my best to stay on top of this story. And odds are at some point, probably sooner rather than later, we're going to hear of a car getting delivered and that owner taking a picture of the car's screen and that screen saying 5G in the upper right corner of it instead of 4G LTE. And by the way, I mentioned the 2020.48.5 update. If you're curious what else is in that, I'll just mention it real quick, but I'll make it real quick since it's possible you may have already received that update by the time you hear this. Now, the biggest thing I think in this update is the Sentry mode improvement where it will store one panic event on the car's own internal storage, which is the same place, that internal storage, that's where the games get downloaded to, that's where all your navigation data is stored and a bunch of other stuff. And it will store that one panic event even if you don't have a USB storage device of any kind plugged in. That to me is huge for folks who either don't know about Sentry mode, because remember, there are a lot of Tesla owners out there who don't pay attention to every little thing like you and I do and just may not be aware of it. Or there may be people out there that forget to plug in a USB device, or their storage device gets full and something happens. So, God forbid if you ever do get in an accident, you now should have a video record of it, regardless of whether or not you have a USB storage device plugged in, which could potentially save you thousands of dollars in claims and insurance, depending on, again, worst case scenario, if something happens where the other person tries to claim you were at fault and you clearly weren't, but then you'd have video proof of it, or something unfortunate like that. Now, as for other stuff in the 48.5 update, voice text messages can now read 2 consecutive texts from the same person at once. So it'll string them together. So it's if somebody texts you 2 back-to-back things, the one person, same person sends you 2 things back-to-back, which happens all the time. I do that all the time. I get texts like that all the time. It will read them both in one go, which, instead of having to just keep hitting the clicking the right scroll wheel button, which is a nice convenience upgrade there. A little thing, but it's a nice convenience thing. And then finally, I'll just mention a 0.2 version of the Trax, the TRAX audio sampling tool that's in the cars now. That has been released as part of this update. For all of you budding in-car DJs out there, you can play around with that. Speaking of Sentry mode, here's an interesting story. Sentry mode saved one Tesla owner any potential out-of-pocket costs on an insurance claim or however this could have gone without the help of Sentry Mode. And it also will likely cost another person either a good chunk of money or some prison time, or maybe both. This story comes via Drive Tesla Canada, and you have got to hear this insane story. This incident, this is the blog write-up here by Drive Tesla Canada. This incident of bizarre vandalism took place in a Walmart parking lot on November 28th in Victorville, California. Thanks to the multiple cameras on the Model 3, we actually know it all started well before. While waiting to proceed straight through an intersection at a red light, a red Chevrolet Suburban pulls up next to the Tesla in the left turn only lane. As the light turns green, the Suburban decides to cut the Tesla off and pull into the through lane. So basically it got out of it, swerved over out of the left turn lane and in front of the Model 3. Cody Weimer is the Tesla owner here. Cody says he left, and he's got the video evidence, he left the Suburban plenty of space for its illegal maneuver, which can clearly be seen on the video. But apparently that wasn't good enough. Like a predator stalking his prey, the Chevy driver follows Weimer into a nearby Walmart parking lot, parks a row away, then sits in his car until the coast is clear. Once he thinks it's safe, the suspect exits his vehicle and grabs a knife out of his pocket. As he approaches the car with the clear intention of knifing it, he is initially spooked away by someone approaching from the front. He doubles back and then turns around again to follow through with leaving a deep gash on both driver's side doors of the Model 3. Weimer tells Drive Tesla that he was, as a follow-up here, notified by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office that the suspect has been arrested and charged with, get this, felony vandalism, which I had to look up because I'm like, okay, well, what does that entail? And here's what I found. Quote, a felony conviction of vandalism in California can result in imprisonment for up to 3 years in state prison and a fine of up to $10,000, or both fine and imprisonment. If the damage from vandalism is $10,000 or more, the fine can increase to $50,000. So that is the description. So what I have to say here is I hope it was worth it for the suspect, who I'm not going to bother naming even though it was in the story. I mean, I'll say, let me preface by saying, I know that the Tesla is just a thing. It is a replaceable thing. It's not another human being. But Cody, if you're out there, if by chance you're a listener of this podcast, I got to say that I am heartbroken for you, because I'm sure you worked really hard for your car, as heck most of us do, whether we're driving a Tesla, whatever, no matter what we're driving. Cars are expensive things. We work hard to get them. We work hard to maintain them and to be able to continue to own them. And to have someone just maliciously and clearly from the Sentry Mode footage premeditatively do this is just awful. So, Cody, I feel for you. Now, I'm no judge, but I put this thought out on Twitter, and Ian, who is a listener out there, who's a police officer, responded on Twitter to me about this and said, those are the maximum punishments. The most likely outcome is that the suspect will get a lawyer and pay for the damages, no conviction recorded. Well, even if that does end up being the case, as certainly I'm absolutely going to take Ian's expertise in this, even having to pay for the damage when you've gouged out 2 doors, that's going to be a pretty hefty price for this suspect to pay in order to, for what? For what? To have taken your anger at life or whatever the situation was with this guy out on another person's hard-earned property. I mean, it's you know, I hope the guy is regretful at least and won't do this again to anyone else. But anyway, it's not a pretty picture for Mr. Suspect on this, who has very clear and convincing evidence against him. A random thought on this before I move on. I will admit that the idea of a hate-fueled attack like this in my own state, anywhere, but particularly like I live in California too, this kind of freaks me out a little bit. And so it's like full body paint protection might help. I mean, you get a little thin extra layer on top of the paint, but it's I don't know how you combat this. Like I guess you can't, right? It's just you just hope that nobody does this to you, or if they do, that you've got the Sentry mode footage for it. I'll tell you, speaking about the Roadster, as I talked about at the top of the show, like if this happened to the crazy idea that I had, and this might be physically impossible, I don't know, but let's just say Roadster with a SpaceX package, which is going to be the cold gas thrusters that fire off. Elon has said that they make a very loud boom when they go off. I wonder, could there be like a security measure built into a SpaceX package-equipped Roadster that could set off the cold gas thrusters without moving the car? Like, I don't know if that's possible. Maybe if they're kind of dialed down so that they don't actually send the car moving at all. But I bring it up just as a nutty, probably dumb idea. I recognize it, but I mention it just as a. It might not stop the crime, right? But if there were an incident detected by the car, like if a window gets broken on your Tesla now, the alarm goes off, or it's supposed to. So if something like that happened to a Roadster with a SpaceX package, could the car fire off the cold gas thrusters, which again, won't stop the crime necessarily, but it's going to A, scare the heck out of the perpetrator, and B, more importantly, draw everyone's attention to the car while that evildoer is probably still standing right there. So, I don't know. There might be some physicists, some actual like rocket scientists out there that might tell me, no, that's impossible. If the thrusters go off, the car's moving. But just an insane thought I had when I read this story this week. All right, I am not even close to done with this week's just jam-packed Tesla news. So I'm going to take a quick breather here, have a quick word from TesLab. Hope you'll take a minute to listen to this, and then I will be back with stories about the Cybertruck, about the Bargersville Police Department and their Model 3 police cruiser, about the state of Michigan, and more. So stay tuned right after this. Before I move on with the podcast, a big thank you to TesLab for once again sponsoring Ride the Lightning. Now, to remind you what TesLab is all about, it's basically like a fitness tracker for your car, like a Tesla version of a Fitbit or an Apple Watch. TesLab is an incredibly useful app that complements your Tesla ownership experience by helping you see and understand exactly how your vehicle is performing well beyond what the car shows you. And I'm extra proud to have them sponsoring the show again because they have kicked off a fantastic new initiative that I am really, really excited about. There is a new feature in TesLab that calculates the CO2 emissions of your charging sessions. It actually reads from your local utility to determine where the energy is coming from and then calculates your carbon impact. But that's not the awesome part. The really great part of this is that TesLab is partnering with One Tree Planted to allow you to offset the carbon impact of your energy usage if you so choose. It works by choosing the level you want to offset and then submitting payment. You can do this on an ongoing basis or just as a one-time thing. Once your order goes through, they send the funds to One Tree Planted, which helps with reforestation and thus offsetting your carbon impact. So if you're like me and want to make sure you're living as sustainably as possible, check out teslab.app/RTL to learn more. It's free to sign up and you can start planting trees as soon as your first charge. And remember that the TesLab app is free to use for life, but you can upgrade to a pro account for the price of a coffee and get way more out of it. Check it out. That's teslab.app/RTL, TEZLAB.app/RTL. All right, I promised a little Cybertruck talk. Here you go. And unfortunately, this one is going to sting for some of you who may have been counting on this as a holiday gift for someone, even if you are just treating yourself. The large 1/10 scale $400 remote-controlled Hot Wheels Cybertruck has been delayed. Another tip of the cap here to Drive Tesla Canada, who got this one. December was the shipping date given for this when the pre-orders first went up earlier this year. Back in a pre-pandemic world, it was February, if you want to be exact, but as if to slightly mirror the traditional Tesla car pre-ordering experience, delivery is going to be a bit later than anticipated on this thing. I know I'm kind of making light of it, but it's unfortunate. It's just like, if you were hoping to make this like a big, cool gift for someone, I genuinely feel bad for you, because that is unfortunately off the table now. But yeah, in an email to Drive Tesla Canada, Mattel has confirmed there has been a delay. The length of that delay is 2 months. It's now scheduled to ship in February of 2021. It should be noted, though, and I was kind of joking around a second ago talking about mirroring the Tesla car pre-ordering experience about having the car end up delayed. It's fair to say, it's got to be fair here. As of now, the Cybertruck hasn't been delayed. As far as we know, it is still on track to begin delivering in late 2021, which is all Tesla ever promised. Deliveries begin late 2021, so we'll see. But anyway, the thing about this $400, again, 1/10 scale, this is a big thing. These were a limited run, and they sold out almost instantly when they went up. Now, there is a much smaller 1/64th scale, RC car of the Cybertruck. That's only $20 because it's a much smaller thing. That is still on track to ship this month, specifically, again, via Drive Tesla Canada's correspondence with Mattel. That is due to ship on December 15th. So that could potentially be a good stocking stuffer for the Cybertruck reservation holder in your life, or maybe the child of the future Cybertruck owner in your family. Although shipping on the 15th, that's going to be cutting it a bit close for those looking to give it as a holiday gift, but hopefully it'll make it in time if you do have that one on the way from Hot Wheels and Mattel. Next this week, another Bargersville Police Department update. I want to tip my cap here to Jordan Sperlin, a listener who tipped me off on this one. Our favorite Tesla driving police department in Bargersville, Indiana, is back with another Tesla-related update. And unsurprisingly, it's very good news with regard to their whole Model 3 as a police cruiser experiment. This story comes via the Johnson County Daily Journal in Indiana, who writes, "It's been 16 months since the Bargersville Police Department bought its first Tesla, and it is already seeing savings," said Todd Bertram, the town's police chief. Now the department plans to add 2 more of the powerful electric cars to the town's police fleet, which already includes 3 Teslas. Though the savings were less than expected this year due to gas prices falling amid the coronavirus pandemic, Bertram is happy with the savings. He is so happy, in fact, he is working on a cost comparison to determine if the town should expand its Tesla fleet even further next year, when the department plans to purchase 3 SUVs. If his analysis suggests more Teslas would be a better value, he would pursue purchasing those instead, he said. Bertram this year tracked the costs to operate an in-service Tesla Model 3 and an in-service Dodge Charger, and found it cost about $6,700 less to operate the Tesla. After 16 months in service, just one of the Teslas has needed maintenance, and it was collision repair after an officer hit a deer, which is a horrible thing if you've ever... I've thankfully never experienced that, but I've heard from friends and family that have, and I've seen pictures, and that is a scary thing for everybody involved. Even with a 2-year break-even point, the journal notes, it is worth the investment, Bertram said. Quote, "My experience with Tesla is that it is an amazing car. There's less downtime because there's virtually no maintenance, he said. Residents, visitors, and even folks who get pulled over ooh and ah at the cars. Some assume the town wasted money buying an expensive toy, Bertram said, so he likes to educate them about the cost and savings the town will see. And that's the end of the clip there. Police Chief Bertram gets it. Good for him being out there educating people on EVs on top of his regular, very important police work. That, Mr. Bertram, is above and beyond the call of duty. I tip my cap. And it sounds there like Chief Bertram might try to convince Bargersville officials to let him add some Model Ys to the fleet too. Because if they're going SUV shopping, and he's liking the Tesla situation, the Model Y, the natural way to go here. And by the way, adding 2 more Model 3s means they'll get 2021 models, which have the longer 353 miles of range, assuming that they do go with the long range as they did for their current cars. So here's hoping that more police chiefs in cities and towns, both big and small, follow Bargersville's lead, as I have predicted they will. All right, let's see. Let's move on here to a not-so-fun story. Remember when the state of Michigan... This was a celebratory thing when I did this story. It was great to have this happen. Remember when the state of Michigan begrudgingly settled the lawsuit that Tesla had filed against it and agreed to let Tesla have a fairly minimal presence in the state so that they could do business on both the sales and service fronts? Well, the state isn't exactly holding up its end of that particular settlement. One more tip of the cap to Drive Tesla Canada, who was on it this week, clearly. They saw this story they just peeked over the Canadian border right into Michigan there. But they report, in all seriousness, as lawmakers in the state passed House Bill 6233 this week, it appears as though some extra lobbying from those Detroit automakers may have paid off. The bill, which was passed with a 65-39 vote, removes both the language that would have allowed direct-to-consumer sales and reversed the ban on Tesla operating service centers in the state. Now, I won't read you the actual verbiage from the bill because, quite frankly, it's boring. But needless to say, not all the lotto makers, nope, that's not a thing. Not all the lawmakers were thrilled. House Minority Leader Christine Gregg, a Democrat from Farmington Hills District who unsuccessfully tried to make changes to the bill before it was passed, said, quote, "It does not solve the problem that we have with the lawsuit with Tesla. It opens up the state to additional litigation, which costs taxpayer dollars. And it also is a very anti-market approach to vehicle sales." Yes, Miss Gregg is correct. Tesla will take Michigan right back to court if lawmakers fail to abide by the settlement agreement that had been reached previously. This is a huge waste of everybody's time. I don't know, maybe it's going to turn out that the lawmakers are just doing this to put on a good show for the big 3 automakers that call Michigan home, and then in the end, the lawmakers will ultimately relent to Tesla. I'm not sure. I hope so. The good news, as Drive Tesla Canada finishes their report with, is that, quote, "Even though the bill has been passed by the House, it is not law yet. The Detroit News reports it still needs Senate approval and the governor's signature, so it wouldn't be surprising to see the bill sent back to the House for more changes." In other words, there's still time for Michigan to do the right thing here. Let's hope that they do. I mean, hey, Tesla is a fast-growing company. Sales are going up in a straight line, an arrow pointing directly up, practically. And Michigan citizens want the cars. People want Teslas, and lawmakers need to do right by their constituents here. That is what they are elected to do. So here's hoping that all turns out well in Michigan, but a story that was seemingly done is now suddenly very much not done and back in the spotlight. Next up, from CNN, Tesla short sellers, get this, lost more money than the U.S. airline industry this year. CNN writing, the incredible year for Tesla stock has created a bloodbath for those shorting its shares. According to analysis by S3 Partners, short investors in Tesla, who's placed bets in the market that its shares would lose value, have lost $35 billion on those positions so far this year. Quote, there's nothing that compares to it that I can remember, said Ihor Duzanuski, managing director at S3 and an expert in stock shorting. My apologies if I mispronounced that. I did my best. It looks like I might have got it, hopefully, but apologies if I didn't. Anyway, CNN continues to put that loss into context. The U.S. airline industry posted combined net losses of $24.2 billion, excluding special items, through the first 9 months of 2020, the worst losses the industry has ever reported. So it wasn't even close. The airline industry as a whole is down $24 billion. It's 50% higher is the short sellers' collective loss. It's an extra $12 billion, almost, not quite 50%. $35 billion versus the airline industry's $24.2 billion. Now, again, I do very much feel bad for the airline industry. I mean, there's so many jobs have been affected there. It is not good. Believe me, I would love to be out flying and going to visit family and maybe taking a vacation or two if I'm so fortunate. But yeah, it's awful for the airline industry and the people working in it. I very much hope that the airline industry recovers. The Tesla shorts, I don't need them to recover. They don't deserve to. I mean, not all of them, again, let me make that clear, not all of them, but there are plenty of them, far too many, who maliciously acted in bad faith in their efforts to get the Tesla stock price to go down so that they could profit off of it. So, yeah, no tears being shed for them, but here's hoping that the airlines can hang on and start to recover in 2021. But, yeah, I thought that was an interesting story from CNN just because, again, it just puts into context how much money, how well the Tesla stock has done against also how much short selling, how much shorting was going on with the Tesla stock, which again, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know all about. But man, what a nightmare for short sellers. But oh well, tough for them. They tried to sink a company trying to do right for the world. Finally this week, as the Tesla Motors subreddit points out, tip of the cap there, the timeline for the 7-seat Model Y has unfortunately not held up. Well, unfortunately, sort of. Maybe. Kinda. Back on October 14th, John from Tesla Owners Silicon Valley, hi John, I know you're listening, asked Elon about it, that being the 7-seat Model Y, and Elon replied to John saying, quote, we're starting production on the 7-seater next month, and again, this was October, so meaning November, with initial deliveries in early December. Now that seemingly did not happen, as the 7-seater is not on the Model Y design studio, and nobody in the public has heard a thing about it, and here we are in early December. So while this is most definitely a bummer for those of you out there who are waiting on this version of the car, the one bright side, and again, I'm not saying I take your side, not Tesla's, in the sense that I would rather you be happy. That's, of course, and Tesla wants you to be happy too, ultimately. But the one silver lining here, I guess, is that if Tesla is not even bothering to sell that 7-seater yet, it would seem to suggest that demand is strong enough on the existing 5-seat versions that Tesla simply doesn't need to roll out the 7-seater yet. They don't need to pull that demand lever as of yet. So, I mean, I'll add the same thing to this that I mentioned about when I was talking about the full self-driving software rollout last week with regard to maybe Tesla will wait until January, either on purpose or simply because that's how the software development ends up going, so that they can realize that full self-driving revenue in what is a traditionally slow Q1. I even referenced that earlier in this episode about the Chinese-built Model Ys. So that could end up being what happens here with the 7-seat Model Y. Maybe Tesla is going to play that card for Q1 to try and goose delivery numbers even more in Q1 to try and, again, keep that profitability streak going quarter after quarter. I mean, that means there are two potentially financially impactful cards that Tesla does have up its sleeve that it could play in Q1 if it wants to. One way or another, though, I do very much hope that the wait will not be much longer for those of you who are waiting on that 7-seat Model Y. I hope you're able to get your car sooner rather than later. Well, you know what? Actually, such a busy Tesla news week, and I don't want to end on kind of a downer note like that, so let me end with some good news. If you bought your autopilot-capable Tesla in 2018 or earlier, and you've got hardware 2, this does not apply to hardware 1, folks, but, and I guess to word this a different way, if you currently have the $5,000 enhanced autopilot package, which again, they got rid of that in early 2019, so that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about like kind of that 2016 to 2018 window. So if you're in that group and you do have the $5,000 enhanced autopilot package, but you haven't purchased the full self-driving software package add-on yet, I wanted to send along some good news that it is currently a bit less if you decide that you'd like to treat yourself for the holidays, or you just think you're ready to invest in it now that the full self-driving beta software is getting ready to roll out. A Tesla employee sent me a copy of the internal documentation on this, which reads in part, quote, "Effective December 4th, 2020, the price of upgrading from the enhanced autopilot software package to full self-driving has been decreased by $1,000. Now, the one part here where I admit I'm a bad host, I'm a bad podcast host, is I'm not actually sure what it is now, like what that 1,000 brought it down to. Was it 4,000 and now it's 3,000? And I can't check the upgrade section of my app, and this came in right before I went to record, since I had already upgraded in 2019, so I can't actually see what the deal is. But the good news is, regardless, it is $1,000 cheaper today than it was yesterday, at least as of me recording this. So again, with that full self-driving beta out there in the wild and due to roll out wide in the next few weeks or so, hey, now could be a good time to take advantage if you've been tempted or maybe you've been kind of on the fence about it. So wanted to pass that along. All right, that brings me to the end, finally, of the longest non-earnings call news week, I think, ever on this podcast. What are we up to? I'm not even sure. It's something like we're at around 40, 50 minutes of just all news. It's been a super busy one. I'm not quite done yet, though. Stick with me. I'm going to come right back with your pro tip of the week and a few other little things for you right after this.
This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Sierra 117. You're listening to Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast. You know, that Cybertruck looks a lot like a warthog, doesn't it? Master Chief, out.
Well, it felt good to clean the car last weekend and been blessed with some good weather here in the San Francisco area, so it has stayed clean for at least a week, which always, it's, you know, whenever I go down there and look at it and look at the car, you know, when my mail is down there, the mailbox is down by the garage, so it's, you know, I'm always at least down there once a day, even if I'm not driving the car. It just makes me happy to see it clean. It brings me joy, so felt good to get it all cleaned up last week. And we'll see. I mean, you know, not driving it too much these days. The fact that the San Francisco and the greater San Francisco Bay Area just had some stay-at-home restrictions going back into place as unfortunately COVID-19 cases continuing to to get worse. So stay safe out there. But yeah, at least driving your Tesla is something you can do by yourself without, you can do that safely without endangering yourself and others as far as the coronavirus goes. So you can at least take, if you need to get out of the house, at least the Tesla is one way to do it. Real quick, I'll mention, since we're back in stay at home here, I'll keep the video game suggestions going. And this week I wanted to shout out Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which is a new release. It's out on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I haven't finished it yet, but I have to say I'm very much enjoying it. It is a really fun, definitely all ages appropriate platforming game with a really excellent and very inventive soundtrack. I don't want to sort of spoil the details of it. You'll kind of see it if you play it, but the soundtrack's a really neat part of that game. There are some 2-player co-op levels if you wanted to play with your somebody else in your family, one of your kids, or your significant other. Who knows what your gaming habits are? It's a good couch co-op game in parts. My 9-year-old daughter she keeps asking me to play it. Like, can we play Sackboy? So it's been going over very well in my house. Thought I would make a recommendation in case you wanted to give it a go. All right, pro tip of the week time. Here is Jason from Tucson.
Hi, this is Jason from Tucson. I have a pro tip for you. When I switched from my Model S to my Model 3 about a year ago, I missed the button that folds and unfolds the mirrors. With the voice commands, you should be able to do that with just saying fold mirrors. But for some reason, I don't know if I have a speech impediment, a lisp, or something, but no matter how many times I say it, the speech-to-text engine converts it to hold mirrors, hold mirrors, I don't know what, and it brings up the control to adjust your mirrors, and I can't then fold or unfold. So I have found that although it doesn't seem as proper English, if I tell it to close mirrors, it works every time, and same with open mirrors. So for me, I use those voice commands instead of fold and unfold, and it works so much better for me. So I just wanted to pass that along. The podcast is awesome. Keep it up.
This is super useful for anyone who might want to utilize this as well, Jason. Thank you so much. Just a quick note that you can turn on the GPS tagged mirror folding if there's a spot you go where you always want the mirrors to fold. For me, it's when I'm pulling into my garage, so I have my house geotagged for that. That way you won't have to do the voice command every single time, but for other random spots, this is an excellent pro tip. Thank you again, Jason. And again, hey, if you've got a pro tip, something interesting that you've learned about your car that is not obvious, that might not be covered in the owner's manual, that you think would be of interest or of use to your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, please call in, and I would love to hear that. Again, please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less and send it in the same way that you send in the regular Ride the Lightning hotline calls, which I told you about at the top of the show this week. All right, with that, we come to just about the end of another podcast. I want to mention some friends of the show. It is the holiday season, so I don't know if any of these products that I'll mention might be of use to you or someone in your life that is a Tesla owner themselves. First, I'll mention abstractocean.com. Their coupon code for you guys continues on. RTL Podcast. Use that coupon code at checkout to get 15% off your order. They are, as I say lovingly, like the Costco warehouse of Tesla accessories. They've got all kinds of great stuff. Rear footwell lighting kit, drop-in cup holder stabilizer, center console wrap, tempered glass screen protector, lanyards, all kinds of fun stuff. Check them out, abstractocean.com. Meanwhile, if you are in need of a front license plate bracket for your Tesla, maybe you want one that can come on and off easily, which the ones that are included with the cars don't, or whatever the reason is. Snap plate is the way to go. You can get it at livingtesla.com/RTL. Don't forget the /RTL on there. This thing snaps on and off in seconds. Paint safe, grill safe, radiator safe, autopilot safe. It's a nice, clean, minimal design. As I say, it is the front license plate bracket for people like me that absolutely hate having to put on a front license plate bracket. This is the one for you. You can take it off for car shows. You can take it off when you're cleaning, put it back on at parking meters to avoid tickets, etc., etc. livingtesla.com/RTL. Meanwhile, Immaculate Reflections is running a sale this week. There is some good stuff going for the holidays. There is a Cyber Monday ceramic coating discount that is being extended 1 week exclusively for listeners of this podcast. So if you are in the San Francisco Bay Area and you've thought, well, you know what? Ceramic coating could be nice. It'd be nice to not have to wax the car for the next 3 to 5 years. Well, the discount will be available through December 12th. You just have to book with Jeff at Immaculate Reflections by the 12th. You don't actually have to get in there and get the work done by December 12th. So, and then, by the way, that discount on the ceramic coating package stacks with the Ride the Lightning listener discount. So mention that you're a listener, and if you're looking for ceramic coating, you're going to get some extra savings there. irdetailing.com is the website to go to. Of course, there's also paint protection film, paint correction, other stuff, whatever you want to do. But the ceramic coating is what is specifically got a cool promo going on it right now. And then there's puretesla.com/RTL. That is your one-stop shop for all of your Sentry Mode /dash cam needs. This is going to be a long-lasting storage device that plugs into your car. It's not going to wear out like a traditional USB stick will. Go to puretesla.com/RTL. $49 for the 128 gigabyte kit. That's what I'm using. There's also a 256 gig kit for $69. Free shipping anywhere in the US. Comes fully formatted, ready to go. You just take it right out of the package, plug it straight into your car, and you're good to go. puretesla.com/RTL. Jada and their wireless charging pad and USB hub that adds a bunch more USB ports to your Model 3 or Model Y, including some extra USB-C ports. If either of those products are of interest to you, don't forget to use the coupon code RIDETHELIGHTNING for $10 off. And you can get either of those or both of them via this link, getjada.com/REF/8. And Jada spelled JEDA. I think that will about wrap it up for the friends of the podcast. If you're not already subscribing to the show, that is totally free to do. Just subscribe on any of your favorite podcast services. That way, the show pushes out to you automatically each and every week. You don't have to remember, oh yeah, it's Sunday, time for a new Ride the Lightning. It'll just show up. So you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, which, yes, is in your Tesla. You can subscribe and listen in your car. Also Spotify, same thing. You can listen in the car through Spotify. And then I'm on YouTube as well, just in audio format. No video there, but if you do want to listen on YouTube, just go on YouTube and search Ride the Lightning Tesla, and you'll find my channel and can subscribe there. Finally, as we head into the holidays, I will humbly mention my Patreon, as I do at this point of the show every week. A lot of work, a lot of effort goes into this week. This goes into the show, and this week in particular was a hectic one with, I actually lost count. I don't know how many stories that was this week. It had to be 8 or 9 at least. It was a very busy week. But again, I have a blast putting this show together, but it is a lot of work. It is a lot of time. If you're in a position where you're willing and able to support my efforts, for as little as $5 a month, what is that, like a cup of coffee every month, you can really make a positive difference in my life by supporting me on Patreon. Now, of course, there are different perks attached to different levels. The $10 tier, that's the ludicrous tier. That's your bonus episode that I mentioned at the top. The new bonus episode's out. Then it goes on up to the Google Hangout, which is going to be happening. Actually, the day this podcast goes out is the December Google Hangout. So anyway, if you may be so kind at some point, take a look at the Patreon page and see if any of that seems worth doing to you. I would appreciate if you do decide to do that, but I'd certainly appreciate if you just took a look. You can find it at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast, Patreon spelled Patreon. And that will wrap it up, other than saying hello to the wonderful Plaid and Maximum Plaid level supporters of the podcast. My newest Maximum Plaid backers, Stan Roth and Howard Anthony Smith, thank you both so much for your support, along with the rest of the Maximum Plaid crew, Pete White, Danny Nelson, Jonathan Wales, Fernando Cordero, Sean Neidig, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, and Tesla Hitchhiker 42. And then you've got the Plaid level supporters, the newest of which is the Tesla Owners East Bay Club. Thank you to the entire East Bay group. I can't wait to see you guys again and do some events with you when this pandemic is over and we can really get out and drive and have some fun. But thank you so much for supporting the podcast at the Plaid level. And thanks to the rest of the Plaid level crew, George Cassiopo, David Brander, Alexi Heft, Logan Willis, Robert Miracle, Jason Chalukas, Joe Edgel, Tim Hyde, Lawton from Chicago, Peter Chalet, David Vakil. By the way, special shout out, these early names, I add these in the order that they come in. And so the people, those first names, they've been supporting me for a long, long time, the longest at that tier. So just a real extra special thanks to those folks. I mean, it is a time of the year to be thankful and grateful. I hope I always try to be thankful and grateful, but especially this time of year. So just, these names that I'm reading, I mean, all of you are wonderful, but you old school folks in particular, just thank you so much for your continued support. David Vakil, Ulrich Lassa, Eric Randolph, David Nondahl, Jerry and Mary Smith, Lyle Austin, Joel Sapp, Dory and Steve Guberman, Jeremy, Tesla Owners Taiwan, Jeremy Harris, Ron Lee, John Cody, Charlie Gillespie, Kaz Barnes, Neil Weaver, David Perella, Sunil Joseph, Dennis Peak, Will Stedman, Evie Tricity UK, Stig Mickey Jensen, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, Richard Folkers, Trenton from Myrtle Beach, the Lydia family, Michael Regal, Mark Eversole, Ish, Chris Beach, Aaron Altschul, Steve Radspinner, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Noel and Lucy Murphy, my friend on Twitter @Rodam, John Schmidt, Eric St. Pierre, and that's it. That's everybody. I mentioned everybody else. So thank you all so much for your support on Patreon. It really makes a significant difference in my family's life, especially now in these very uncertain times. And just, appreciate you not only just supporting me, but enjoying the podcast enough to want to put a little money behind it each and every month. I mean, that just tells me I'm doing a good job, and it's really, I'll tell you, I am very fortunate to have a job and a career that I still love after 18 years, and a company that I love working for, and a team that I love working with. But this podcast is the first time I've ever worked for myself and actually completely built something by myself. I haven't been just working for a company and doing what the company tells me to do. And it's just the validation from the Patreon support. It's just so, it makes me feel so good. Honestly, sincerely, the fact that, for better or for worse, if you hate the podcast, I mean, you're probably not listening, especially by now, hear it after an hour or more, if you don't like this podcast. But, the people, it just feels so good that people would like this thing that I've built and I put so much love and energy and time and effort into to actually say, hey, you know what, Ryan, I'm going to back you at the plaid tier or the ludicrous tier or the sport tier, whatever it is. It just means a lot that you would believe and enjoy something that I just am building with my own two hands, so to speak, enough that you would do that. So just, I know I'm rambling now, but it's the holiday season, and I just wanted to say just a super sincere thank you to all of you who are supporting on Patreon. And if, and for those of you that aren't, maybe at some point you'll feel that I've earned that from you. Maybe you haven't been listening too long, but hey, as long as you're listening, I appreciate it. The thing about the Patreon is it's completely optional, and The show will always be there for you every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. So I have been talking plenty. That is enough from me. Daisy the Boxer is gone into snore mode. She is out cold next to me on the couch. I'm going to wind it down here, get ready for bed as the clock approaches midnight here in San Francisco. So, for a snoozing Daisy the Boxer, I'm Ryan McCaffrey. I wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. Of course, I'll be here throughout it. There will be no weeks off. Where would I go? I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at home. But no, there are no. I'll always be here, of course, as I said, every Sunday. I take a lot of pride in that. So, until then, until next Sunday, happy electric motoring. See you soon.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.